With Super Wildcard weekend being this past weekend, we now know who's moving on to the divisional round. The Bills, Rams, Buccaneers, Ravens, Saints, and Browns are all moving on. We learned a lot of things from each of those games, and I'm here to tell you at least what I learned watching those games. But before I get into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like this video. Let's try to get to 200 subs before the end of January. To start with the first wildcard game, the Bills and Colts, I'll start with the team who lost by 3 with the Indianapolis Colts. They played a great game against who I would call the only team in the AFC with a chance to take down the Chiefs. But during the game we realized one thing. The Colts are 1 or 2 offensive pieces away from being real Super Bowl contenders. With Philip Rivers most likely leaving the Colts in my eyes, they definitely need a new QB. And probably get a new one if Rivers wanted to stay anyways. Jacoby Brissett, who I'm a fan of, is clearly not the future for the Colts, as he's good but not good enough to lead a Super Bowl contender, at least as of right now. I think the Colts should target Matthew Stafford or Carson Wentz, since they won't have a good enough draft pick to get a great quarterback in the draft. I think Stafford would be the best option for the Colts, because obviously he's better than Wentz. I've made videos on both guys, but please do not look at my Wentz one before the season. Spare me. However, I do think Wentz is still very talented, had a huge mental block this season, and just couldn't get over it. He would fit very well with the Colts because Frank Reich was Wentz's offensive coordinator for his near MVP season, who I think can revive his career. The O-line will help out both players, since their teams are both in the bottom 10 of sacks allowed, with the Eagles allowing the most, and the Lions allowing the 10th most. However, like I said before, they're 1 or 2 offensive pieces away. This offense needs a real wide receiver 1, because T.Y. Hilton cannot be that anymore, as he has clearly regressed over the past 2 seasons, averaging 50 yards per game in both. None of the younger receivers averaged over 39 yards per game this season, as well as Nyheim Hines leading the team in receptions as a running back. Also, T.Y. Hilton is an unrestricted free agent this offseason, and they could lose him. Although I think he's staying on the team, there is still a chance. Bringing in another receiver will make this offense elite with the likes of Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines out of the backfield. And although I was down on Taylor before, he showed all of us that his first half of the year is not who he's going to be for the rest of his career. As for who they can target, they can try to sign Allen Robinson, which I think is very likely, or maybe try to target someone in the draft. That is not always a guarantee if they'll be good. If the Colts can make moves this offseason, watch out for them in the 2021 season. But very quickly I will talk about the Bills, because we learned nothing new. They are contenders for as long as Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen exist, and will be in the AFC Championship game in a couple weeks no matter who they play next week. Now, on to the next game, the Rams and Seahawks. The Rams looked great on defense, and their ground game was dominating the Seahawks front as Cam Akers had 131 yards and a touchdown. Going off of that, I want to focus on their defense. To begin, Darius Williams had a good read on a pick 6 on a screen to DK Metcalf that gave the Rams a lot of momentum. They also had 5 sacks on Russell Wilson, who played a horrible game, having 174 yards on 11 of 27 passing. With the defense playing like that, the Rams could be very scary moving forward in the playoffs. Personally, I don't see them going past the divisional round, but I could be wrong. The Seahawks were exposed in every facet of football. Their offense played terribly, starting with Russ, who I already talked about. While DK may have had 96 yards and 2 touchdowns, he only got 5 of 11 targets, and 51 of those 96 yards came on 1 long touchdown and a big drop that went straight through his hands. Tyler Lockett only had 2 catches for 43 yards through 4 targets. Russ was pressured on 50% of his dropbacks. That is the biggest issue on offense for the Seahawks. They need to protect Russ at all costs. Their defense did not play well, allowing a lot on the ground, but their secondary played well, in quotes, which in my opinion is because Goff is still hurt. He didn't even start the game, but was put in for John Wolford after 2 drives. I knew the Seahawks would be a fluke in the playoffs, and I talked about this a tiny bit in my video about Russ, where I did not think the Seahawks would go far, and I didn't even think the Hawks would win the division. I thought the Cardinals would. Obviously, hindsight is 2020 and I was wrong about that, but I was not wrong about them not going anywhere in the playoffs. The Buccaneers Washington game was so fun to watch. During my poker night with my friends, we had that game going and had to stop playing just to watch it because it was just that good of a game. I did not hear anything about Alex Smith not playing until I got to my friend's house since I was at work before, but I was really surprised with how good Taylor Heineke, however you say it, played. In his second ever start, and first playoff start, he played great. Throwing for 306 yards with 1 touchdown in the air and 1 in the ground with 1 interception, Vanilla Vic impressed. This may be an overreaction, but he should be in the starting job conversation for Washington next year. And if not, he'll be a good backup there or someone else. His touchdown run and touchdown pass to Steven Sims were just great plays, and that throw was amazing in the back of the end zone. I expected this to be a close game because I know how good Washington's defense is, but even with those expectations, it went above them. Brady played great, but Chris Godwin did not look like himself, only catching 5 of 12 targets, but it didn't matter since their offense was just locked in, through the ground, and through the air. They played amazing. This was definitely one of the best games of the weekend, considering the story of Taylor Heinicke and Tom Brady's first playoff game without Bill Belichick. The Buccaneers will be in the conversation to make the Super Bowl this year. I hope they don't, because I don't want Brady to win with another team as a Patriots fan, but if he does, good for him. In the NFC, watch out for the Bucs. The first game of Sunday was the Ravens and Titans, and boy was that a defensive battle. For a little. Until Lamar just took over. The Ravens only allowed 209 total yards, and Derrick Henry had 40 yards on 18 carries. They did exactly what they needed to do to stop the Titans offense, which is stop Derrick Henry, which does not allow the play action pass to do what it has done most of the season. The Titans are still a good team. Derrick Henry is still the best pure runner in the NFL, but watching this game makes me question the Titans. They will still be playoff contenders in the coming years, but that defense, they will not be competing for Super Bowl, no matter how good the running game is and how Tannehill plays off that. The Ravens proved to me how good their defense is. That defense is Super Bowl caliber after seeing what they did today. To go on top of that, Lamar proved to everyone that he can win a playoff game. That's exciting. He had 179 passing yards with a pick to go along with 136 rushing yards, a touchdown run that was one of the better runs John Harbaugh has ever seen. The Ravens have definitely shown potential to go far in these playoffs. They have a tough matchup with the Buffalo Bills, so we will see if Lamar can keep it going in that game. Now, onto the Saints and Bears. Long story short, Saints dominated. They just overall look great on both sides of the ball. The final score was 21-9, but it was really 21-3 with literally 0 seconds left. The game just ended 6 seconds ago while I'm typing the sentence. The Bears scored a meaningless touchdown to Jimmy Graham, who walked off the field in sadness. While Trubisky's stats may not look terrible, he was way too conservative throughout the game and really hurt the Bears' chances. Javon Wims dropped an easy deep touchdown that could have given the Bears some momentum to try to be competitive, but no, that just did not happen. David Montgomery also could not get it going, having 12 carries for 31 yards. One thing that really killed the Bears was the holding on 2nd and goal against Kindle Vildor when Khalil Mack got a huge sack. The game was just pure dominance by the Saints. They showed why they could be the team to win the Super Bowl this year and let Drew Brees retire with another Super Bowl ring. And for the Bears, they got to find a quarterback and a new coach. Matt Nagy sucks. Lastly, the Browns-Steelers. The Browns went into this game with Kevin Stefanski, their head coach and play caller, out with COVID along with 4 other coaches and 4 players. 2 of the players being proven starters and game changers, and cornerback Denzel Ward and guard Joel Bitonio. But that didn't matter. The Browns jumped out to a 28-0 lead at the end of the first quarter. The defense smothered the Steelers in that quarter, picking Ben Roethlisberger off twice, then a third in the second quarter, and a fourth late in the game. Carl Joseph took a bad snap on the first play for a touchdown, then Big Ben threw a pick, which led to a Jarvis Landry touchdown. Then a punt where Kareem Hunt scored, then Ben threw another pick, which led to another Hunt score. Just wow. This is unbelievable. The odds against them with so many important players and coaches out with COVID, the fact that they won scoring nearly 50 points against this defense, well, 41 because they got a defensive touchdown. Either way, it is remarkable. If only they didn't play the Chiefs next round, then I would have a lot of faith in the Browns. But they're playing the best team in the league, so sorry Browns fans, I don't think you're getting past the divisional round. Even saying that, the Browns' hard-nosed style football, running the ball, play action off that with a great play action passer, and on this given Sunday, playing great defense, forcing 4 turnovers, and a 5th on a bad snap, which I don't consider them forcing it, but whatever, you know what I mean. That would get them far in the playoffs any other year, but they just have a tough matchup next week. I'm happy for Browns fans getting their first playoff win since '94, and their first playoff game since 2002. But as for what I learned from this game, is that Baker haters just gotta stop talking. 263 yards with 3 touchdowns, and just looked great throughout the night. We also learned what we all knew. The Steelers were never that good. I never believed in them, just like the Seahawks. The offense was shaky at times, and while it didn't look terrible outside of Ben Roethlisberger's turnovers tonight, I just never saw them going far in the playoffs. And they didn't even go as far as I thought they would. I thought they would beat the Browns, but they just got steamrolled. Also, Juju, please just shut up. Things you said about the Browns, which is shown on the screen now, which are so stupid, you have to learn that you jinx everything. You already have 3 times this year. I don't care if he had 157 yards and a touchdown, just stop. It's just annoying for everyone. Also, something random but crazy, neither team had a sack tonight for two teams with a good pass rush, even though Olivier Vernon was out. A big question now is if Big Ben will be a Steeler next year. He's either retiring or staying with the Steelers. I don't think they would get rid of him, so I think he stays with them, but it's still a question. To conclude this game, the Browns look great tonight. Hopefully that carries over into KC, and you get the players and coaches back. Steelers, you're a fluke, and I thought you would be the whole time. This Wildcard weekend was a really special one. A lot of storylines, great games, and overall, just a great time watching all of the games. Each team that moved on to the divisional round is continuing their fight for the Super Bowl. It's going to be fun to watch. We get the blessing to see if the Browns can upset the Chiefs, the third battle of the year between Brady and Breeze, the Rams defense playing a Lambeau against the MVP Aaron Rodgers, and two quarterbacks from the 2018 draft class dueling it out in Buffalo. Who moves on to the conference championship games, we'll have to see next weekend. With all that being said, that is it from me, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Fanatic Sports. Hope you all liked the video. If you did, please subscribe and hit the like button. It only takes like 2 seconds. Also, follow me on Instagram at FanaticSports25 and on Twitter at FanaticSports. Before I go, what did you learn from this Super Wildcard weekend? And who do you think is the scariest team from the Wildcard round? Comment your thoughts down below.